Hi there, everybody. This is Mark Bromley, your favorite artist and author of the Yoranthium book series. Today I have for you a study piece that I began in the early 2000s when I had a couple of computer programs that I decided to do some art on. And I just recently got a touchpad that allowed me to use a pen to draw artwork. And this is the first test of those really old computer programs that I'm using and the pin on a touchpad, so I could actually manipulate the page. This is like the very first piece I did, and it was an idea that I had for the Farseer from Warhammer 40K. I'm a big fan of that game. I used to play that when my friend in high school he went to Scotland, and when he was in Scotland, he picked up the Warhammer 40K game, and he brought it back, and he needed two armies, so he had the orcs, and he also got some Eldar, because well, I guess I kind of like the elf thing, and so I played with the elves, and he played with the orcs, and the Eldar. Or the Aeldari. They keep changing the names on these guys now. It's hard to keep up with. So this is back in the 80s when there was a Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader. That was the first game that came out for the whole entire rule set and game set. So yeah, he played the orcs, and because red goes faster, so he played the orcs, and that's what he did. And I played the Eldar. And yeah, we kind of did that. We even played Adeptus Titanicus and a few other little things that we were quite fond of in the early days of computers and things like that. And this right here is a Kumithra, the Farseer. Yes, Kumithra from the book of the Yoranthium book series. So this kind of gives you a little illustration of where Yoranthium has some of its origins, the book series, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit. And this is the first one, and of course, it's based off of another one of my favorite people in the world, and she should know that. And well, here it is. And I don't know. I always said that her eyes are green. They are. Anyways, it's kind of a funny thing. And so I was creating this. Now there's an actual sculpture that I made of this, a 25 millimeter sculpture of this particular figure, because I elaborated over time, started to make it even better. I haven't retouched this up, and I probably should, um, because at the time of designing this, the eyes are deliberately slanted the way they are, because I thought that was kind of interesting. So I did that, and basically you can say that this is the prototype for the Kumithra that you find in the Yoranthium book series. And there's the elf ears and stuff like that, and some really nice earrings. I mean, those earrings are pretty nice. And yeah, I got an earring chain there, a little Eldar Farseer symbol on there, on the headdress in there, and the flaming eye, because my Eldar are called the flaming eye, and that's just part of the design elements that went into the first thing. She's on a craft fleet world. Uh, as you can see, the buildings in the background, they're very ivory towers, um, different types of buildings in the background, and they're out in space because there's a big, huge dome over the city. So you can actually see that in the background. And there's a lot of little stars out there, a little bit of fun. And yeah, it's just a little happy little drawing, little picture. And I was sitting there just testing out the capabilities of my using a pad and graphic pencil, and it just came out pretty good for a first time artwork using the drawing pad thing. I was surprised how well I could actually manipulate it. It's actually low resolution. There's not really any higher resolution to it, but in a way, I kind of like the low resolution because it gives unique textures a little bit of pixelization, some unique textures. But this is the first test piece of drawing with the drawing pad and stuff like that. And if I had better uh, computers, better graphic hardware, better graphic card, better drawing pad, and better programs, um, then I could do a hell of a lot more. But you know, those drawing pad, those like Adobe Illustrator is very expensive. It's out of my reach. I can't do it. Adobe Illustrator. I mean, the price is way too high. I can't pay that every single year. That's just ridiculous. So I use these programs that I purchased back in the early 2000s that I got for cheap. I used to actually go over to thrift stores looking for actual CDs and CD content that I could download onto my computer for programs that people no longer used, and that's what I was using on my computer and stuff like that. And that's why I'm stuck with it. I mean, I can do layering with these things now. I can do more stuff with it, but it's very complicated. It's somewhat too complicated now to actually go that far to do the layering process because I have to cut out a certain image, then I have to layer it manually because I can't just switch between layers. If I could just easily switch between layers, I could actually increase my art a thousandfold. But right now, my work process is too long. If I have to create one unique image for every single layer, and then I have to go back and add that layer later uh, to the whole entire thing. It's rather complicated, and I don't think the drawing pad that I have is advanced enough to do what I need because it doesn't have the touch sensitivity that I actually need in order to make these things work. It has touch sensitivity, but the programs I'm using don't recognize touch sensitivity, um, so I can never really benefit from that kind of easy drawing technique that some people do on their uh, that they can do on their phones. Can't afford that either. So that's the whole entire thing. Like I said, I live in the North Korea of the United States. It's called Northland, Colorado, North Korea. This is how poor I actually am. This is how much I'm kept in poverty. As you can see, my artwork is actually exceptional. It's excellent. If I actually had the tooling that I needed, it would be far superior than a lot of people out there because I see the dimensions and the shapes a lot easier than a lot of people. So, yeah, that's what's holding me back and keep making it really complicated. Because, you know, I try to create some picture books recently and stuff like that. And then I was trying to do some manga stuff and coming up with the creative concepts of what was supposed to be in each picture is actually quite complicated. I was watching one person who claimed to be a manga artist, but what she was doing, she was actually receiving just the pencil drawings, the idea sketches, and she made it look really easy because she was actually just tracing what somebody sketched. And that's not really art. That's just basically one of those disposable Colorado Institute of Art people who were just told to be a cog in a wheel, churning out the same images over and over and over. Uh, they created the same shapes, the same thing, and you know that's not the artist that I actually am. And but they're like that, and they're just machines. They're just one cog in the machine, and it's not really actually art. It's just disposable. You're disposable. I mean, Sony, take for example, Sony PlayStation just most recently here in 2024 is laying off 900 employees in computer gaming. What assets are they? Probably artists. They're probably the artists, the designers. More than likely, they're the ones that are replaceable because there's enough art institutes that can replace them. AI's gotten to the point where you can actually cut out a lot of the design elements for 3D generated worlds where you don't really need a person doing it anymore. You can just basically tell your AI to do it, so now you don't need these people. You don't have to put them on a payroll. You can just pay yourselves at the top. And that's always their plan. That's always their plan. Pay themselves at the top, and who cares about all the people at the bottom in the businesses? And that's where you get a lot of homelessness in this world, a lot of despair, because people don't work like light switches. You can't just turn them on and turn them off. You can't just fund them and not fund them. That's not an option. But a lot of really bad politics, because of sociology, psychology, and political science, the 1% extremist philosophies have taken hold in this world, and they've cut people out of being able to create the life that they've imagined themselves living. Nobody has a problem with working. Nobody has a problem with doing a job. But when the job becomes overbearing or too unconditional and too misunderstanding of why people are there and of its people, it becomes abusive, it becomes cruel. And this is what the thoughts of the 1% philosophies of sociology, psychology, and political science has done to the world. This is why there was so much strife in the 20th century, more strife in just one century alone than there had been on Earth in centuries. I mean, take for instance, my family comes from England and Normandy, France. Normandy, France comes from the Vikings. So, okay, Vikings take over Normandy. They were given Normandy. They became French. Then they invade England. And over at the Battle of Hastings in 1066, it's the most ridiculous battle ever. It's like 3,000 Normans come across the canal, basically with rickety boats, a bunch of tired and exhausted horses, soldiers, all this really ridiculousness. King Harold just fought a battle in the north and had to make his way all the way back down to Hastings. And the stupidest war breaks out. They believe that William the Conqueror was killed, so he ends up spending most of the battle getting on his horse, telling people he's alive, convincing his soldiers to go back into battle instead of retreating because they're all tired from the sea journey. And King Harold is attacking and he's fighting, and then an arrow lands in his eye and he gets killed, and that's the end of the Anglo-Saxon Empire in England, and it gets turned into the Norman the invasion of England, where the Normans basically take over all of England. And this is where you end up with a changing of French into English. It was the most ridiculous battle ever. And now in the 20th century, the 1900s, when sociology, psychology, and political science got involved, the wars that broke out were massive. They're huge. They're World War I, World War II. The atrocity rate is terrible. Chemical weapons, biological weapons, radiological weapons. Here in the United States, our biggest war criminal ever uses the atomic bomb on two cities. An atomic bomb actually being used in there. Actually, and right now, Putin's threatening nuclear war. If he doesn't get his way in Ukraine, he's threatening it. And that was actually in the news just recently. And all of this is because of socialism, psychology, and philosophy. Extreme philosophies that got pushed in the schools starting in 1880. And then here in the United States, by the 1910s, when most of the colleges were being formed, most of the traditional colleges were formed around 1910s. And well, we had older ones down in 1776 and stuff like that before that. Even before that, we probably had of schools probably dating back to 1600s. Uh, but this is just recent thoughts. Sociology, psychology, political science. If we oppose sociology, psychology, and political science and rid them out of our schools and start to teach the larger values of actual philosophy, literature, and art, it appears to me that we could actually fix a lot of the problems that we've been having here in the United States for some time. See, I shouldn't be struggling this hard with my art. I shouldn't actually be having this much difficulty here in the United States, living in the North Korea called Northland, Colorado, and being the George Floyd of Northland. I'm basically George Floyd of Northland. Yes, I've had police harassment on a constant, regular basis because of conditions of poverty. They target those who are poor. And who are they that's doing this? Well, they're your elected leadership. They're the people on your city councils and your state offices, the House, the Senate. These are the problem. Your real problem is always the leadership. The overall leadership is the problem. It's not your police. Your police are never the problem. Your police just simply took a job to take care of their families. That's all they ever did. But your leadership will hire bad police on purpose and intentionally because they want police that will become their thugs, that will be their bullies, that will rough people up when they send them out. I mean, here in the city of North Korea, Northland, Colorado, the going rate of death by cop, meaning that the cop's going to shoot you, is just about $1 million to the survivors. That's the going price. And with the city of $126 million annual capacity, drop in the bucket. One life is a drop in the bucket. They can get the police out there that are, if they can hire the wrong police officers, the wrong ones who are just too brutal, too mean, too cruel, they can murder people. Quite literally here in North Korea, Northland, Colorado. I had that threat aimed at me a number of years back. I do have the exact date. I did write it down and stuff like that because, they surrounded my house one night, late at night when I was in my pajamas. They came over here for false reasons, false pretenses, and they were basically putting their hands on their guns, getting ready to shoot me in my pajamas, strip searching me on my front lawn. And it's true stuff. I mean, when I was a kid, between the ages of 12 to 15, I was actually picked up by one of the police officers for no reason and thrown across my yard, landing on the ground head first. Could have broke my neck, could have had my skull crushed. He would have been perfectly fine with that. And they kept rewarding that child abuser that came over here for no reason. 20 years, they kept putting medals on his chest. Little North City of Northland, City of North Korea medals on his chest. These medals don't mean shit because you know what? I was in the military. I know what real medals are actually worth. You can actually see that video. I tell people about my military veteran service for the number of years. That's an impressive rack that I actually developed over that number of years. I got 2 NUCs, uh, Naval Unit Accommodations. Those are called NUCs. I got 2 of them. That's pretty good stuff to actually get. I had Battle E's. I had several, well, I had more than uh, 3 stars for my sea service. I did a lot of sea service in the Middle East. Anyways, I point that out. And yeah, if you get the wrong leadership elected to office, they will send these people out to troll you. And I am like basically the George Floyd of Northland because everybody I worked with in my V2 division came from the same streets as George Floyd. If I'm working shoulder to shoulder with these guys from the same streets as George Floyd, I am like George Floyd. Plain and simple. That's just the story of it. And George Floyd was killed over what? $20. $20. Of course the nation should be outraged about that. If and the harassment didn't stop. My opponent in 2023 that I ran against in political office, a lot of my political office I'm running because of the police harassment, because of the terrible stuff, the atrocities that the piss poor leadership on our city council of North Korea, Colorado has caused. And it keeps people in poverty and it keeps my artwork in poverty. And that's why I show you this artwork, uh, because I don't have access to the right equipment. If I had access to the right equipment, this picture would be so much better. But, this is as good as it gets right now. And this is my first time practicing with a drawing sketch pad, and it came out rather nice. I mean, I got some pretty decent gems created there. They're decent enough. They could be better. I could have made it a little bit darker. Could have put a little bit more depth into them. But as far as creating this first picture, it's actually pretty good. I used some good shading, some good techniques. There's a lot of good crafting going on here, and I think I actually captured a rather good image. And when I show you this sculpture, I'll get around to those sculptures that I made. I'll show you the very first time I tried the sculpturing and stuff, and then I'll show you where it progressed to. I haven't got to my highest level that I could because, when I was doing the 25 millimeter sculptures that I did, uh, they were I was just using my own eyes. There's no magnifying glass. I can't afford such a setup to actually have a decent magnifying glass so I can actually magnify my image to see exactly what I'm actually working on. I can't even I can't even get the right tools. I'd have to like manufacture my own tools to actually do better sculpting, but which is very time consuming process if you have to create everything from scratch. But it did teach me how to work with modeling clay and stuff like that and trying to make 25 millimeter models. So now I could probably increase the resin casting processes that I do get involved in sometimes to larger figures. And like I said, this picture right here is actually Kumithra. She's the Farseer of the Eldar craft fleet of the Flaming Eye. And it's one of my own fan fiction type of armies that I was collecting within the Warhammer realm, but I never really get to play it much, so I don't really get to use. So I didn't have much of a reserve built up for that. But that's what this is, and yeah, that's where Kumithra started right there, and eventually it turned into the Yoranthium book series, and well, yeah, it's a pretty name, and well, she's pretty too. But anyways, this is a very nice picture. This is a very fantastic picture, and I hope you guys liked it. I hope you think that this is really interesting. A lot of first-time artwork is not going to be well, wow or anything like that, just because it's the first time of drawing something through a sketchpad, which is a time-consuming process, by the way. But you can tell that my illustration techniques are very strong. They're very good. They translate well. They turn into fantastic objects. I mean, just the chain on that earring alone is pretty darn good as far as initial jewelry type stuff goes, like the earrings and the necklace chain. That is actually pretty nice. So it's pretty good details there. Anyways, this is basically the introduction to let you know that, yeah, the Uranthium book series, then you can go and get that on Google Play. You can go to my website, get t-shirts and things like that, and you can see where my artwork was going at first and where it was actually uh, what I was working on when I was working on all these elements. So that's the first picture right there, and well, I'll talk to you later. I know this video gets a little bit long, and I'll talk to you a little bit about how my art and my current predicament and my current situation is actually evolving. Uh, and it's pretty interesting way, isn't it, to actually understand an artist and their line of thinking and how it actually works out. Well, you have a great day. I'm Mark Bromley, author and artist of the Yoranthium book series. Here's another first introduction of Kumithra back in the early 2000s, 2000, I think 2011. I think that'd probably be a good idea. 2011 to 2012-ish, 2014 maybe. Oh well, 2014. I'll just say yeah, 2014. That's what I'll say. All right. Well, thank you. You all have a great day.